Hey everybody, Dirili here. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Hakuoki Kyoto Wins. We are on Ryouma Sakamoto's route, and we are in Chapter 5, which is the beginning of his exclusive route. We actually followed after Kaoru to go see him, and we were led to our father here at the Inari Shrine. Let's finish up this conversation with him and see if we get to talk to Sakamoto soon. You can just sit back, relax, and let me read you a story.
I hear you and Sakamoto have developed quite the rapport. I, of course, wouldn't want to hurt someone for whom you have developed feelings. You know how I work. I would never force him to drink the serum with no means of turning him back.
What? You did force him in the first place and you actually have a means of turning him back? And no, actually I didn't know you worked like that. I haven't talked to you in 4 years.
Besides, he may have become a fury, but he doesn't seem to bear any resentment towards us. His words, actually, not mine. Thanks to that serum, I was able to save my own life as well. I can do all I have aspired to now.
What, did you almost die too, Dad?
Naturally, it took a little while for him to come around to and accept it, but now I am certain he approves of the serum's potency.
Is that all true? I remember Sakamoto being upset that he had died before he made the impact he'd wished for upon Japan. I don't remember him having the time to say that. He seemed kind of confused, actually.
Yes, in fact, he wanted to see you. Follow us this way. Come.
Could I trust what Father told me? No, I can't. Don't go. Although I'm pretty sure, they're gonna grab me and drag me there anyway.
What's the matter, Chizuru?
Father kept urging me. I'm not going anywhere.
What did you just say to me?
Sakamoto told me the only people who will benefit from using the power of the Furies were the Westerners. He said it was no different from how Britain had ruined China using the opium trade. So, I don't believe you for a second that Sakamoto would ever accept the efforts of the serum. Father's eyes suddenly lost all warmth and kindness, as if he had ceased his charade.
You are a stubborn one, my child. I suppose you leave me with no choice but to use force.
No! As Father reached his hand toward me to grab my arm, I instinctively slapped it away. Just then...
Hey, didn't you hear the lady? She said she's going nowhere. Nothing worse than a daddy who can't let go of his child.
That voice! It's... Hijikata! Sanin! My goodness, all of you are here! Pardon our interruption, Kodo, but I am quite intrigued by the subject matter at hand here. Are you actually capable of reversing the effects of the Furies that transform people back to humans?
Oh ho! I'm surprised you're out and about, despite the sun still being in swing. I have to admit, it's a little hard to believe that the Shinsengumi was able to improve the water of life so well. It means you must be toughing it out.
Hey, answer us! Is there a way for us to turn back, or not?
Of course there isn't. Are you stupid?
Are you saying that you thought I was stupid, Dad?
Once your blood has been tainted by the water of life, you can never return. The two of you were just failures. You bastard!
Flames burned inside of Hijikata's eyes, while Sanin, on the other hand, kept his composure and spoke with a tone so cold-hearted, I felt nervous. I see. Now that you have had the opportunity to say your piece, I have made up my mind.
Yup. If there's no way for Furies to turn back to their original form, then we have no reason to keep you alive. However, one question before I kill you. Heard you turn Sakamoto and Nakauka over too. What for?
From the side, Kaoru answered in Father's stead. These men were no use to us dead.
Who put you up to this?
I wonder. Men as persistent as you are a real bother to be around, Now let's go, Yukimura. There's no more need for you to associate yourself with these brutes. As Kaoru's slender fingers wrapped around my arm, I found it hard to believe how much power they had. Hey, let her go! Ugh! Heisuke had leapt forward to jab at Kaoru, but his sword just barely grazed her sleeves. I took this opportunity to gain distance from Kaoru. Then, from the other direction...
What a boorish group you are. I suppose it's time to turn in for today.
No kidding. How shrewd of them. They're all like a pack of stray dogs that can't help themselves outside of their pack.
You think we'd let you off that easy? Sorry, but not even a fly could break through our line.
Nagakura puffed out his chest and drew his sword.
Yeah!
Father had quickly slipped something from out of his sleeve. It was a tiny glass bottle, and inside of it was a peculiar, suspiciously discolored liquid. Watch out, everyone! Get back! As I screamed, Father had already thrown the bottle toward the Shinsengumi warriors.
The hell is this? No one inhale the powder. It'll probably blind you or something.
Hijikata tried to warn everyone, but it was too late. Well then, everyone, I bid you good day.
Chizuru, I will come for you next time. Just you wait, child.
No, wait! I reached out as my fingertips just barely grazed their kimonos, but Father and Kaoru vanished like smoke.
After him, guys. Don't let him get away.
The men scoured every corner of the temple, as well as outside of it, but no sign of neither my father nor Kaoru had shown itself. Oh, I'm so disappointed we didn't get to see Sakamoto at all. Later that night, Hijikata called me to meet him in the common room.
Unfortunately, I couldn't find Koto or the other girl. That Kaoru person. Ugh. I had hoped to find them and resolve this all before we started preparing for war against the Satsuma Choshu.
Hijikata forcefully bit his lip, seemingly out of frustration, and all I could do was apologize. I'm so sorry, Hijikata. There you go with that apologizing again.
What are you apologizing for now?
Because, as I tried to speak, my throat quivered. I didn't want to believe it was real, but because my father imposed the water of life onto the Shinsengumi, lying about being able to change the Furies back to their human forms. I knew it wasn't just simple research on the Furies that motivated my father to act as he did. There must be a deeper reason to it all. At least, this was the hope I had been holding on to in my heart. It seemed like my father had no reservations in turning people into Furies. Nor had he expressed the slightest hint of guilt for sacrificing real human lives for his purposes. This man was my father.
No point in feeling guilty about any of this. The choice to start researching the water of life and turning people into Furies was something we decided ourselves.
Hijikata tried to accept some of the criticism as his own to comfort my guilty feelings, but there was no way for me to easily absolve either my father or myself or the sins that were committed. Hijikata placed his index and middle finger on the right side of the bridge of his nose as he spoke.
You know, from here on, our mission is to kill your father, Koto. If being here during this is too much for you, I'll make arrangements for you to leave whenever you want to.
Thank you. That's very kind of you, but please, allow me to stay here for just a little longer.
Alright then, understood.
Father was the one responsible for cursing the Shinsengumi with the water of life. There was no way that, as his daughter, I could be allowed to take safe refuge somewhere far away and forget about all that's happened here. Besides, Father spoke about his ambitions to revive our family's clan. This is all my fault. I have to do whatever it takes to stop my father, even if that meant at the expense of my own life. Sakamoto, where are you right now? I hope we see him before his route's clear. It was the dawn of a new year. January 3rd, 1867. War had finally broken out between the shogunate army and the Satsuma Choshu forces. In comparison to the amassed total of 15,000 shogunate soldiers, the Satsuma Choshu managed to gather just above a third of those numbers. It had been generally assumed that victory for the shogunate was a matter of when, as opposed to if. However, the Satsuma Choshu use of advanced weaponry unexpectedly proved to be a key factor to disrupt the shogunate army's plan of attack. Most unfortuitously.
Yukimura, are you alright? We have been running around for a while. Are your feet tired or hurt?
I'm fine. In an effort to summon reinforcements, Inoue and I were sent toward the Yodo domain.
It is of the utmost importance that we complete our mission and return to the magistrate as soon as possible, for Toshi's sake.
Inoue's words had evoked my memories of all that had happened in the last few days.
Damn it, what the hell's going on? The guns they're using are inhuman. It seems like it'll hit you a mile away. There's no way we can just go in while they're reloading and charge them. Well, sir, the enemy seems to be using a kind of gun that allows for breech loading, which means you need only use your fingertips to reload. What? Those are the kind of guns the Sakamoto bought over from foreign countries and sold to the Satsuma. That son of a bitch, he sure knows how to stir up a pot.
Hijikata's brows furrowed for a moment, trying to quickly whip up a plan of attack.
Gen, think you can head up to Kyoto Castle and ask for some backup. They may have the technology, but we definitely have the manpower. If we just throw men at them, we may stand a chance. Very well, consider it done. Yukimura, go with him. It'll be safer out there than it is over here.
Understood. It seemed the only thing the shogunate had going for itself was our numbers, and I couldn't quite stomach the fact we seemed to be falling behind. However, for the Shinsengumi's sake, I must do whatever I can. Very quickly, soon enough, we had arrived at our destination of Kyoto Castle.
Hello, I bring message of the war front on Kyoto. We need support to push back the Satsuma Choshu forces attempting to subvert control from our lord.
Inoue had been frantically yelling at the enormous closed gate in the castle's entrance. Huh? Finally, someone had peered out from the second-floor window, looking down at us. However, I saw something glimmer in his hand, reflecting from the sunlight. Wait, is that... Inoue, look over there! Suddenly, gunfire had been aimed and shot at us. Inoue and I ducked down to evade being targeted. What's going on? I thought the Kyoto domain were loyalists.
They were, until now it seems.
What? That's betrayal.
Unfortunately, it happens more often than you would expect in the middle of wars. Let us return to Toshi. There is no point in us staying here any longer.
My heart was filled with frustration. To betray the shogunate as it had been suffering. If the roles were reversed and it was Kyoto Castle asking the Shinsengumi for help, we would never do such a thing. Inoue hung his head low, walking with a little slump in his back as we returned down the path. Just then, more gunshots had echoed behind us. But it wasn't in the direction we'd come from.
Yukimura, get down!
I ducked instantly, and a bullet had just barely missed the tops of our heads as it sped past us.
That flag, it's the Tosa's.
Tosa domain? Tosa was Sakamoto's domain.
The Tosa should be loyalists as well.
Inoue turned to face me, signaling me to keep my head low and still until he gave the sign. Then I heard another barrage of gunfire. Ah!
Yukimura, this way. There's no doubt those bullets are aimed for us since we are Shinsengumi.
Inoue and I had found some cover behind a pair of bushes just off the rural path.
What the? Where'd those Shinsengumi guys go?
Search the whole area. They can't have gone too far. Inoue nodded at me, and together we scurried from behind the bush to behind a large tree trunk. Somehow we were able to elude the attention of the Tosa soldiers. Of course, there was still no time to rest. As soon as it seemed like the coast was clear, Inoue gave me a tired smile.
So, we have Ryouma Sakamoto to thank for the Satsuma Choshu weaponry, do we? It seems Toshi had the right assumption.
With the war being largely affected by the enemy's weaponry, and now that Sakamoto's home domain has become the Shinsengumi's enemies, well, it was hard for me to deny how many favors Sakamoto seemed to have given our opposition.
You were rather close to Sakamoto, weren't you, Yukimura? This must be difficult for you.
It's fine. I tried my best to downplay how I felt about it all, but it seemed that Inoue saw right through me. He tenderly placed his hand on my shoulder, smiling.
I want to give you time to process this, but it is imperative that we hurry back to Toshi as soon as possible and update him on the treason of the Yodo and Tosa.
Yes, I know. We got back on the main trail, heading back toward the direction of Fushimi at a light jog. The sun had completely set by the time we had returned to Fushimi.
We're almost at the magistrate. Hang in there.
I'm worried. Don't worry about me. I'm fine. Just as I responded to him, we were startled by a gang of footsteps right behind us. It wasn't just one or two people either, but an entire troop of men behind us. We turned to face them slowly, and above them we saw the Tosa banner, shining brightly under a flaming torch. Inoue, they're back!
They followed us all this way, eh? Nothing we could do about it.
Geez, how strong did you think we are to send all these people after two? Inoue drew out his sword, glaring in the direction where the enemies were standing. Darn again, not again!
Yukimura, hide. Do not come out until I tell you to.
But Inoue...
Everything will be okay. Luckily, they are not as dangerous as the other troops. I do not see any rifles.
But there could be furies.
I have been a devout student of the Tenrin-rishi style for this very reason. If it comes down to a show of swordsmanship, I can't lose. Now go!
Inoue kindly urged me to hide, so I found a small patio to hide behind, just off the street next to us. However, as I watched Inoue from the shadows, I kept my right hand firmly fixed on my kodachi. If Inoue were to run into any serious trouble in battle, I fully accepted the risk of backing him up. Tosa warriors clothed in Western-style uniforms surrounded Inoue, one of them in particular licking his lips as he smirked creepily. Just then, the Tosa soldiers had charged for Inoue a lot faster than he expected them to. Oh yeah, they're furies.
Are they?
Inoue screamed, and as I realized why, my stomach dropped like a stone. The eyes of the Tosa warriors glowed an eerie, horrific shade of crimson, and as one of them came closer to my line of sight, I saw fangs. As Inoue blocked one of their advances with his sword, he attempted a low slash in quick return. But his blade was smacked aside with ease. Inoue! My worry caused me to impulsively call out to him, and I panicked, realizing he wanted me to hide. I wasn't sure if I could use any powers, whatever ones I had, to fight furies, but even so, I should be able to help him out in some capacity using my kodachi. I unsheathed my short blade, and I moved to charge at a fury who was about to land a fatal blow on Inoue. Ah! But another fury came from behind, pulling my hair. Just then, Inoue let out a blood-curdling scream, and the sound of his flesh being sliced open made me wince. Then, it seemed like he fell unconscious, slamming against the ground. What? I felt my eyelids stiffen, and I couldn't blink. Blood was gushing from Inoue's body, and his eyes were glossy, as if the light had suddenly left the once bright twinkle in his eyes. What just happened? My brain refused to process it. This can't be real. You're okay, aren't you, Inoue? We still need to make it back to Hijikata. Inoue, who had been one of the kindest people I'd met in the Shinsengumi, was now dead. These kind of things don't happen, right? Inoue, please wake up! I was in a near hallucinatory daze, trying to run up to Inoue as if he were just knocked out. However, I'd forgotten that my hair was in the hands of an enemy Tosa soldier, and I couldn't move. Just then,
Jeez, always got the worst luck, don't you?
I heard a familiar voice. However, the tone of said voice was different than I'd become accustomed to hearing it. Whenever I'd heard it in the past, no matter how tough or tense it was, there was a warmth to it. This time, however, it was unmistakably cold. Timidly, I looked in the direction from which I thought I'd heard the voice. And my heart is broken.
Don't move. Anyone budges, I'll shoot.
A man adorned in foreign attire appeared, who for some reason resembled Sakamoto. The moon hung above the winter sky like a white sickle, and the light gleamed on his sharp cheeks. When I caught sight of him, my hair stood. In his right hand was a 6-shooter pistol, and it was pointed straight for me. Sakamoto? I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. The man I saw was him, so I called out to him. However, he didn't respond. He merely directed his icy gaze toward me. Sakamoto, it's you, right? Why? My hands were trembling, and I called him again. Then he fired his gun right in front of me. Ah! The bullet was aimed right next to where my foot was, hitting the ground as I lifted my leg.
I said don't move.
I had no words. Rather than feeling a fear from the possibility of being shot to death, I was broken-hearted to see Sakamoto behave in a way that was so completely foreign to the person I'd grown to admire. He kept his finger fixed on the trigger, and he spoke again in a cold monotone.
Told you before, didn't I? I'm an enemy of the Shinsengumis. Could just shoot you here and now, but they told me you're the only one I can't kill. Lucky you are.
Sakamoto was saying things I'd never thought would ever come out of his mouth. Did he just say he would shoot me? The Sakamoto I knew always said that violence wasn't the answer. Or had all of that been a lie?
You're coming with me. Your father's orders.
What? No, Sakamoto! I tried calling out to him once more, but Sakamoto only glanced at me with disinterest, turning to face the Tosa Fury behind him to give a command.
Take her to the Fushimi mansion.
Then Sakamoto walked into a dark alley and disappeared. Wait! Please, at least allow me to bury Inoue! Please! I desperately screamed at the Furies, but no one seemed concerned in the least bit about me. My voice was a whisper in the darkness. Afterwards, the men had led me, after tying me up, to the Tosa domain located in Fushimi. Waiting at the entrance to meet me was...
Wow, who would have thought she was Koto's daughter?
Okay, sorry to break the tension, but... oh my god, he looks hot. Yeah, that's a good change for you, Nakauka. Like Sakamoto, Nakauka dressed in Western attire. As I was led past him, he sneered over me like I was some despicable creature.
Since you're a Shinsengumi, I'm gonna gut you nice and quick, but I have strict orders not to.
Why do you hate us so much? My wrists became sore from being bound together behind me. My question came from a deep grimace.
What do you mean, why? Don't you know? That night at Omiya, it was the Shinsengumi who had us murdered.
When will we get this straightened out? That's not true! We were actually coming over to warn you! I sat on my knees trying to plead my case to Nakauka when he kicked me in the cheek. Ugh.
Not just that night. At the Ikena Inn, in the Hamaguri Rebellion, you have any idea how many of my comrades had their blood on your hands? What could any of you shogunate dogs know about the state of our country right now? Because of you, Westerners are going to take over Japan as a colony and enslave our people for generations to come.
Nakauka's eyes looked like tears were beginning to form inside of them. He was right. Many of the Shinsengumi men had made a point to slaughter many nationalists. On that alone, he had a legitimate grievance. You're not the only ones who have had their comrades murdered. You guys murdered Inoue. A man who's never shown anyone anything other than generosity since joining the Shinsengumi was just murdered in cold blood by the Furies. I wished to say more, but my sobbing stopped me. I knew that crying couldn't help me here, but it couldn't be helped. The tears blurred my vision. If I hadn't so needlessly spoke out on impulse, then maybe Inoue would have lived. He had been like a father figure to me, looking out for me as long as I had known him. I had nothing to show for it. No way to repay him.
So what? Just returning the favor for all you guys did to us.
As Nakauka continued barking his spiteful words, I bit my lip.
Heard you're some fancy demon from a fancy clan, but you have no powers, do you? So for us, Furies are the better investment, eh, Sakamoto?
I saw Sakamoto off to the side, staring at me with disinterest, and he muttered to himself.
Yep.
I was in disbelief to what I was seeing, and my heart ached as he just glared at me coldly. So, had Sakamoto become an enemy of the Shinsengumi after all? I tried to keep myself in denial that any of this had been happening at all.
Never really thought I'd ever give up my humanity. But it feels like I owe it to my good buddies, 6 feet under, to use my powers to finish off the Tokugawa era once and for all.
As Nakauka monologued self-righteously, he shot me a hateful glance.
Let me warn you now, trying to escape will only bring bad things. Luckily, when you're hurt, you heal right up. So if you try any funny business, I have no problem punishing you without mercy.
Nakauka and Sakamoto left me alone in the room, and I was still tightly bound. As I gotten some time to myself finally, my mind immediately jumped to Inoue. I remember, one spring day many moons ago, I'd made a red bean paste treat, and he seemed to enjoy it so genuinely.
Delicious. You will undoubtedly make someone a very lucky husband, Yukimura.
He always heaped praise on me. Just like when we moved to Fudodo Village.
Oh, you're pouring some tea for me. How kind of you, thank you. My, we sure have come a long way, haven't we? Perhaps it was fate that brought us together. Let us continue to support Isami and Toshi together while we can, all right?
When Saito and Heisuke had left the Shinsengumi and tensions were high, Inoue remained jovial, doing his best to improve everyone's mood. I'm not sure I could possibly count how many times his kindness saved me from myself. I could only imagine what became of his body. Was his body still sprawled along the frozen ground? Or had someone come for his head? No. I can't let myself stay trapped in here. I couldn't let him down by failing to fulfill the mission he passed on to me in his dying moments. Is anyone guarding this room? If so, I wondered how many men there could be. I put my ear against the door, but I heard nothing. I'm going to stay and talk to Sakamoto, or try to. I think waiting for Sakamoto may be better. From what I'd seen from other Shinsengumi members who had become furies like Sanin and Heisuke, their personalities hadn't changed much. Yeah, but we don't know if Sakamoto was faking in the first place, or if he's been brainwashed now to think that the Shinsengumi did actually try to kill him. So that tells me that the shift in character was deliberate, and he, for whatever reason, is acting out on purpose. Of course, it also meant that the side of himself that he'd shown me was all an act as well, but... Just then, the sliding door opened. The person who entered was...
Given up already, huh? Makes my job easier.
He still spoke with this unfamiliar coldness in his voice, and it made me sad hearing it. However, Sakamoto then quickly moved behind my back and began to work on untying the rope binding my wrists together. Huh? I was so confused, and I looked back at him. Oh, so he was pretending to be bad.
Shh, don't make a sound. If someone comes in, it'll be trouble.
He brought his voice to a whisper, and his face, it was the same warm, adorable Sakamoto that I knew so well. Ah, you didn't let me down after all. I'm so happy. Oh God, I'm so happy. Although I'm still sad about Inoue, but I'm so happy about Sakamoto. He shut his eyes briefly, exhaling as if he had been caught in wrongdoing, and then began to ask me.
The man you were with, Inoue, was it? Went ahead and buried him in a grave for you. His death is kind of my fault.
Sakamoto bit his lip bitterly, casting his eyes toward the floor like an embarrassed puppy.
I'm sorry.
While I appreciated his sentiment, Sakamoto's words made Inoue's death just a little more real. I could only look down, and I'd begun sobbing. After spending some time shedding tears for Inoue, Sakamoto looked at me apologetically and took out my kodachi to hand to me.
I'm giving this back to you. It's important to you, yeah?
Thank you. I had a sense of familiarity and security return to me when I accepted the kodachi. Thinking about it now, it was my father who'd originally passed this kodachi down to me. Considering how things went the last time I saw Father, thinking about him gave me mixed feelings. After a brief pause, I asked Sakamoto something. Sakamoto, why were you acting like that earlier? Clearly, he's kind of undercover right now.
Well, can't really fool anyone if I'm not totally believable, can I? Then trying to figure out what Nakalka, Kodo, and Kaoru Nagamo were plotting.
Nakalka? I recalled the hateful glare he directed toward me, and my heart sank. He really did seem to harbor a lot of resentment for the Shinsengumi. Yeah, he's totally been fooled. Well, I mean, he has legitimate reason to hate the Shinsengumi for other things, but he's been fooled about us trying to kill him.
Well, like you said, he's lost a lot of buddies to you guys.
So are you resentful toward us too, Sakamoto? Sakamoto seemed to consider the question for a moment, scratching his chin before facing me.
You said it yourself, didn't you? They know he's dead because of us. The grief of losing a friend or your family or your ancestors, there's no limit really. When does it end? More than anything, there's so much work we gotta do to get Japan on the right track. No sense in wasting time with petty conflict.
His words relieved me. At the very least, he seemed to retain some of the kind-heartedness I'd grown to like.
So, that said, let's boogie. No point in us sticking around.
So you're not gonna stay undercover anymore, you're gonna escape with me? Hooray! Oh my god. Alright, we're gonna stop the video there, but I am so glad that this didn't turn, because I would have been so angry if this game broke, because, we're breaking in the middle of everybody's routes for this game, and then we're not getting the second half until later. And I would have been so mad if this game ended on a bad note with him before we switched over to the next game. I would have been so mad. So I'm so happy that we're back on good terms with him before the switch over. Oh my god. Thank you. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, writers. Thank you, Axis. Thank you, Idea Factory. Thank you, Otomate. For not doing that to me. Alright, well, while I'm riding that high, heading out of here. Hope to see you in the next video or some of my other ones. And I'd be so grateful for any likes, comments, subscriptions, or shares with your friends to show some support. Thank you so much for joining me, and I wish you all health, happiness, and safety. Dirili signing out. Bye bye, everybody.